What's up, everybody? Shauna D Man here. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing great. Hope you guys had yourselves a great weekend. We are back with another episode of the Nerd Talk podcast, and this time we're going to go over Star Wars Tales of the Underworld. And I'm going to give my thoughts about it. Watched it yesterday. Uh, Definitely could say it's fine. Like, it's not bad or anything like that, but I'll go more deeply into it. But if you're new to the channel, be sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Be sure you comment below. Tell me what you thought about the series. And then over on the gaming channel, which you can find in the description below. Right now, we're doing some Star Wars Empire at War content at the moment. And then Saturdays, we are doing Ghost of Tsushima for the next couple of weeks. So definitely go and check that out if that is something you are interested in. So Tales of the Underworld is the third installment of this Disney Star Wars Tales series. Now, this kind of came out of nowhere because nobody was really expecting this to happen, because at the beginning of the year, a lot of people thought the only kind of content we were going to get Star Wars related was Andor, Andor season 2. So obviously on this channel, we are doing reviews of Andor, so that you can definitely check that out as well. But Andor was the only thing that we thought was coming out this year, basically, until I think like 2 weeks before Star Wars Celebration, they dropped the trailer for Tales of the Underworld, which was very surprising because, quite honestly, I thought they would have waited until at least Star Wars Celebration to drop that information. But from my understanding, like, they did show episode 1 at Celebration, and then this past weekend, for some reason on Fortnite, you could watch the first 2 episodes of the series over there, which weird enough, but that's beside the point. So Tales of the Underworld follows Asajj Ventress and Cad Bane. I'm going to start with the Asajj Ventress side of things because it doesn't really fit into what the theme of this particular Tales series is. So we follow Asajj Ventress. This seems, from my understanding, this picks up kind of like aftermath of what's the novel, Dark Disciple, I think is what it's called. Like, in that book, she falls in love with Quinlan Voss and things like that. This kind of picks up with it, with Quinlan Voss and Obi-Wan carrying her to, I believe this is probably a Night Sister kind of location. And this particular story arc didn't really have anything to do with the Underworld. Like, when I think of the Underworld, you think of Jabba the Hutt. You think of the crime syndicates and things like that. Cad Bane's story does have some Underworld stuff in it, but I even there, I thought they could have done more. But with the Asajj Ventress side of things, we kind of just follow her as she comes back to life, because we hear Mother Talzin saying she could either join her Night Sisters or return to the land of the living, but at the cost of her heart's desire. So, at least to my understanding, that means if she chooses to follow or go back into the world of the living, there's no possible relationship for her and Quinlan Voss. And definitely, like, time has passed, because this is definitely, obviously, towards the end of the Clone Wars. But when she reawakens, the place is destroyed. Basically, it's gone to ruin. And then I don't know what the time jump is with that, but after that we follow her as she just has a normal life. Runs into a young Jedi who doesn't have anybody, and kind of gets stuck with him, and because he mentioned the path, which was what we first heard about in Kenobi, in the Kenobi series. And he mentions that Quinlan Voss set it up to help Jedi escape the Empire. So now she's kind of invested into it, because now she has a chance of seeing Quinlan again. So she agrees to take him to the path, So the 3 episodes essentially just is just that. Episode 1 is them kind of, getting off world because they got to find information in order to find the path. And episode 2 leads us into 2 bounty hunters, which I believe we saw in the Clone Wars series. I can't remember which specific. I think it was one of the Ventress centric arc stories. They say they have information, but it's come to a price, and so they want Asajj and I think his name was Lyko to help steal a radar. I believe like a radar array or like a sensor array, like a specific piece of it for an insurgent group, which I could probably assume is the rebels, or at least the early stages of the rebels. And so, but turn to find out, like one of the bounty hunters, she's like, you can't trust her. We'll help you make sure you get to the path, and things definitely go away because the only way because they have to avoid the sensors of the Venators, and obviously Lyko being a Jedi knows how to do that. Because the first 2 episodes are just like a part of like Asajj telling him like, you smell like a Jedi, you act like a Jedi, stop drawing attention to yourself. And then the 3rd episode leads them to a planet, which ultimately is the one they're looking for to get him on the path to escape the Empire. Little side thing it was interesting because he immediately recognized this farmer immediately recognized Asajj Ventress. So I assume he had like medals hanging on the wall. So I assume he was like a commander or something for the Separatists during the Clone Wars. And it is an interesting episode because the guy is struggling because all he knows is fighting. That's all that's happened for him, and it's hard for him to do things a different way. And he talks about how, maybe if we had more people like you, Asajj, and not these battle droids, the war probably could have gone our way. And then he mentions how both sides were right. Or no, he mentions how basically the Separatist viewpoint was right about the Republic, and then Ventress counters and says both sides got it wrong because both sides were played by the Empire, mainly Sidious, but ultimately what comes out of the war is the Empire. Both sides got played to set the stage for this coming new galactic empire. We kind of hear the same thing too in Star Wars Rebels on Agamar, where both Rex and General Kalani realize, if the Republic didn't win, if the Separatists didn't win, who really won? And Ezra was like, the Empire won. And so it's basically that same kind of plot line and thought that's in this episode. But ultimately, they find the path. Lyko decides not to go because he wants to stick with Asajj Ventress. So I am curious on where he's at during the Bad Batch. So I don't like. Does this take place? Because it looks like she maybe goes back to, I can't remember. I gotta watch the episode again, but maybe she goes back to bounty hunting during the Bad Batch series. So I am curious on what happened to him. Did he get ultimately killed at some point? Because we also see Asajj kill a Inquisitor or Dark Jedi, depending on how you want to label them as. But overall, like this particular story arc just felt so out of place because it had nothing to really do with the Underworld. It was just a Asajj Ventress story. Now, if they would have called this the Tales of Asajj Ventress and had the 6 episodes with her, maybe even doing the Dark Disciple situation, I could probably get on board with it. But it has nothing to do with the Underworld aspect. Now, on the other hand, in this series, we have Cad Bane, his story arc, how he became I guess not necessarily how he became the infamous bounty hunter, but kind of like his early years and what he was doing. Just a street rat, basically living on the streets, never knew his parents, gets kind of caught up with a bad crowd. A gangster named Laszlo kind of initially recruits them to help pull off a heist, but it escalates there. It just escalates, and Nero gets captured by the police. Colby slash Cad Bane goes with Laszlo and his gang, and so a couple of years pass. Both of them are much more adults, or probably more amongst the maybe 19 year old, 20, 21 ish age. Um, Still, Colby is still with Laszlo, and then Nero becomes a deputy for the local sheriff's office. And so a mission goes wrong because I guess they leave to go do a heist, or at least go do some kind of mission. Laszlo tells Cad to stay behind and Arwen to stay with him to keep an eye on him. And then as the episode progresses, come to find out a lawman kills Laszlo. Bane doesn't like that. Bane is very angry about it. So he goes back to his old neighborhood, basically kind of like causing an explosion to draw in the lawman. And we get into this kind of situation where kind of like it gave Western vibes as well, where you had both guys just standing apart and waiting to draw. Cad Bane wins, but but the lawman gets distracted by Nero, but I guess either way, Cad Bane wins it. Uh, he gets arrested, and then 5 years later, he comes back. Come to find out, Arwen, she got shot in the shoulder in episode 2 of the story arc, and Colby got married. Apparently, had a son named Isaac. Um, Everybody's on edge because Cad Bane is coming back after being in prison. He was supposed to be maybe 5 years, but he got an early release on a technicality, and so he's coming home. Everybody's on edge because two of his gang members show up together at a spaceport, and everybody's kind of like, "Oh, I don't like the looks of this," and it's kind of worrisome. And then because it also has it to where uh, they even contemplate basically just killing Cad Bane right then and there as soon as he steps off the ship. But Nero isn't doing that. He's trying to do things. You know, he still has the thought that maybe Cad isn't going to come here and cause an escalation, which is in fact he does. He come to find out Arwen died a couple of years ago, and Cad Bane's like, "You're saying something you shouldn't be saying right now." Isaac shows up, and he goes back. We did a whole Western standoff kind of thing, and obviously Nero loses. And Cad Bane's like, "You took everything from me," and he's like, "Not everything." And it kind of zooms over to Isaac because apparently this was something that which was hinted in episode 2, where when Arwen and Cad were together just playing Sabak, it looked like she wanted to tell him something, but they were interrupted by Laszlo's ship coming in, crash landing, coming back in, and then come to find out she was pregnant with Cad's child. Um, Interesting ending, and because like one of the council members comes and just says, "You stay away from him," and you could see the look on his face, and he just walks away. It was an interesting ending to the series. I overall with this particular series, I don't know, It was okay. Like, it's okay. I actually think the Cad Bane story is probably the better of the two. And quite honestly, of the Tales series, it's probably the second best episode, right behind the Dooku story arc in the first season of Tales of the Jedi. It just feels weird. The Asajj Ventress one just feels out of place. It just feels like it doesn't really belong in this specific version of the Tales series. It's Tales of the Underworld. We get some Underworld aspects with gangsters a little bit, and it was Cad Bane's story. We don't really get that with Asajj Ventress stories. Again, I think if they did a Tales of Asajj Ventress, then that could have probably been a little bit better. I feel like if they do a Tales of the Bounty Hunter, I think they should bring back Cad Bane, because I would have liked to see more of how Cad Bane became, the more infamous bounty hunter in the galaxy, right up there along Jango Fett, because both, I believe, were operating at the same time. So if we get a Tales of the Bounty Hunter series, part of that, what I would love to see is Cad Bane and Jango Fett, or even Cad Bane training Boba Fett in one of those story arcs. So that could be an interesting thing that we could get later on down the line. But overall, I think it was fine. The animation looked good. I did enjoy the music. Cad Bane's story was great. Asajj Ventress just, again, feels out of place, but it was okay. But I'm very curious to see what the next Tales series is, because we've been getting them like once a year, I think. Because last year we got Tales of the Empire, this year Tales of the Underworld. So they've probably have already started the work and process on the next series for 2026. And I think the Asajj Ventress, a voice actor, even came out and said she would love to come back for more projects with Asajj Ventress. So, I mean, we're getting a Darth Maul series, so why not just throw in a Asajj Ventress series in it? I mean, might as well at this point, or unless you do her series based off the Dark Disciple novel, then that could be an interesting thing as well. But again, we'll kind of have to just wait and see what happens, because Andor is about to wrap up, because tomorrow we get episodes 7, 8, 9, and then next week, that's it. That's the ending of the series. And then that's pretty much it Star Wars related. I think maybe Star Wars Vision Season 3 drops at some point this year. But it's far, and then the Star Wars Outlaws, like a DLC, comes out this year as well. So other than that, it's a pretty light year for Star Wars, but next year is going to be very heavy with Star Wars content. So this is probably just a light break that maybe people needed to get them excited for the Mandalorian and Grogu, which drops next year. I think like May 1st, 2026 is what it is. So definitely so. But guys, that's pretty much it. Like I said, if you're new to the channel, be sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Be sure you comment below. You can check out my gaming channel down in the description below for more gaming content. And definitely I'll have my review of episode 4 of The Last of Us Season 2. That'll be up tomorrow. Definitely don't want to miss that. And then on Thursday, I'll have my review of Andor Season 2's episodes 7, 8, 9. So we definitely don't want to miss out on that as well. But guys, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for watching. And I will see y'all in the next video. Y'all have a good one.